A much-anticipated report on racism and discrimination in the military was released today, and it says Canada's armed forces aren't doing enough to address the problem. It says recruitment data shows workplace toxicity has affected the reputation of the forces, and to point to repulsing Canadians from enlisting in the military. Matt Ingram has more.
The military has poorly implemented, shelved, or discarded many of the recommendations made over the past 20 years to tackle systemic racism. The defense minister made a bombshell report on discrimination public today.
These obstacles hurt our operational capacity and harm the security of our country.
The advisory panel report found the membership of the military and Defense Department does not at all represent the diversity of Canada, a gap it says is growing. And systemic racism is, quote, repulsing new recruits, explaining that a toxic workplace environment is hurting the organization's reputation.
I think it was rather superficial. I think it was kind of sanitized. It was a very safe report.
Barbara Perry, the director of the Center on Hate, Bias and Extremism, was disappointed more attention was not paid to the toxic workplace culture, which she sees as the root of the problem.
We've heard so much about that around sexual misconduct around the past couple of years, and yet it didn't extend to this conversation.
She also was critical of a lack of specific examples and information from the many consultations the panel held.
That's another thing was missing, right? The experiences of communities that are affected by these problems. Where were their voices?
The report also found the number of military members belonging to extremist and white supremacist groups is growing, and it's becoming harder to detect them.
This is part of the culture that shapes so many of the other problems.
The advisory panel behind today's report was created in December 2020 to provide advice on eliminating systemic racism in the forces. It offered 43 recommendations, but also concluded no more were really needed, just action on the 258 recommendations already suggested over the last 2 decades. Matt Ingram, CHCH News.